Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hello, everybody. It is 11:03. Thank you very much for being here on the Lock Shop today. Lots to discuss from the weekend. A little bit of a quiet night tonight, but lots to discuss from the weekend for sure. Huss is on his way back from Costa Rica, and looked like he had a pretty good time down there. I like that video when he was wrapping it up, and there's 56 guys still playing behind him. I think all in all, you might have created a poker monster there, Patty. What do you say about this?
Yeah, I think he's already thinking about where he's headed next, already looking up the festival schedule, see what boondoggle he can pick up. He might not even be going to me or Jake anymore. He might go direct to the source because he met our poker guys, Sven and JP. So we may have lost a Coolbet Canada ambassador, and now he's just going to be a Coolbet poker ambassador.
He's just poker guy. Hey, I would not have expected that when he headed down there, but here we are, I guess. How was the weekend, Jake? What'd you get up to, buddy?
I actually went out to Kingston, visited a buddy of mine who's getting married this year, so we surprised him on Friday night, and then spent some time there. Watched the Leaf game Saturday night, which I'm sure people in the chat won't be too happy about, but I just the poetic justice of it being Klingberg that causes the offside and the tying goal. It was quite funny because we had been talking about Klingberg most of the game when we were sitting there. And sure enough, Draisaitl scores, and I'm like, oh my God, here we go. And then the challenge comes, and you could see it was. I thought it was pretty.
It was offside.
Yeah,
it was pretty clear. I thought, yeah.
Pretty entertaining game for sure. I know there was some chatter this morning on your show about Stuart Skinner. I don't think I'd be too worried about that just yet. I mean, it's crazy how much, obviously, being in the Leafs Twitter space, it's a pretty it can get toxic pretty quickly. Edmonton was in the Stanley Cup final Game 7 last year and lost 2-1. I don't know if you should be worried about Stuart Skinner at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny because I loved people sliding in to the post-game chat being like, well, looks like Skinner was outperformed by the other goalie again. I was like, yeah, but did you see the other goalie? He had 47 shots or whatever it was. I don't know if Joseph Wolf played like that all year, boys, but I thought he was absolutely outstanding on Saturday. He was terrific. And then, I saw on Twitter, and I asked Dreger this morning, I mean, Patty, one of you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but people seem to think that first period by the Leafs was one of their best periods of the year. I thought they were everywhere. I was very impressed, actually, by Toronto in the opening 20.
Yeah, bar none. And I think that first period, yes, you could say that the Oilers weren't great, but I think that was more of a justification of Toronto playing one of their best opening 20 minutes and arguably one of their best 20 minutes of the season. And this is a team that Toronto, as of late, kind of came out the gates sleepy quite a bit. And that's one thing that Craig Berube actually brought. I mean, the previous coach talked about starting on time. Heck, even the previous coach before that talked about starting on time, probably even more. And this team, time and time again failed to start on time. This year, that's one thing. When they get a 1-0 lead, a 2-0 lead, or ultimately a 3-0 lead, like we saw in the first, they actually have the capabilities to hold on. But that kind of just goes to show you the team that the Oilers are on, that they can be down 3-0 and can come back into a game and make things happen. So all in all, I thought it was a thoroughly entertaining hockey game. When I know these two teams are from somewhat opposite sides of the country, but when you put it on Saturday, you get the shade of it's got to be a 7 p.m. or a 5 p.m. local puck drop because we have to cater to the Toronto fans. I know it's a long shot here, but I think a Toronto Edmonton Stanley Cup final would do this nation a whole lot of great things. It would be a lot of fun.
It would be great for Edmonton Sports Talk. I'll tell you that. I mean, it would be. Jake,
I'd probably be public enemy number one on this show.
You probably would be. I thought it was a great football game or a great hockey game. It was just I had a couple of bets on the game, but I don't consider myself a fan of either team. And I just sort of sat back and enjoyed what I watched, man. I thought it was just do you think you know what? It's not likely, but I mean, it's not like there are a couple of 7 seeds that are going to need to go on Cinderella runs to actually get to a Stanley Cup final. So, there's a chance that it could happen. Do you think the 7 games, if it goes 7 games, but do you think a final would be as entertaining every single night as what we saw on Saturday? Or do you think these two teams are capable of playing what some would describe as a dud? Because I have a hard time believing that the emotions wouldn't be through the roof from start to finish in the series.
I think the way that Toronto played on Saturday night, that was a little more of like the brand of hockey that we saw maybe last year and previous years. Like Toronto doesn't really play a whole mess ton of really exciting games anymore. They're a very low event, a much better defensive team, and you can see with some of the players on the team, their numbers maybe aren't quite as high as they were in years past, although Marner's still having a pretty good statistical year. William Nylander's off to his best goal scoring half way through the year. So I would say in theory, probably not. But, on paper, when you look at what has happened with this group, yeah, I think there could be some duds. But with that being said, it just seems like the Edmonton Oilers also brings out the good in a lot of teams as well. The fact that they have the firepower to turn things on ultimately gave Toronto no reason but to play that brand of hockey where they're going to have to score goals. They're going to have to keep pace with Edmonton. They're going to have to be able to skate, defend them off the rush, cycle the puck down low when they do get in. So I think it's just the way that the Oilers have built their team. You have to basically play entertaining games. The fact you put it into a Stanley Cup final, the fact that you put it's 2 Canadian fan bases, and say what you will about Scotiabank Arena. Yes, on a Tuesday against the Minnesota Wild, it is quiet. It is dead. The lower bowl is filled with suits and sushi. But when playoff comes around and the real fans go to those games, they do get electric. They do get exciting. So I do agree with you. I don't think it would be possible for these two teams to put on a dud.
You guys ever had sushi at a hockey game?
I can't say I have.
No shot. The time and place, Dusty, and it would not be at a hockey game.
Yeah, but I don't have sushi where you're supposed to have sushi. So there's no chance I'd have sushi at a hockey game,
Here's the thing. I love sushi. I love hockey. I'm not putting them together, though. It's just not the combination you need, not the combination you want. I'm more of a hot dog guy at a game, a bag of popcorn. Sure, I'll get a little bit fancy if we're in a box, say we're treated to some clients, or it's a
you're having dry
event.
Ribs. Like, I'm doing cranking it up a notch. Like,
exactly, but I'm not doing the sushi. I can't do it. No, there's no chance.
Okay, so when we watched that game on Saturday, and it was an entertaining game, which of the two teams do you think need to be busier before the trade deadline? The Leafs or the Oilers? What do you guys think?
Jake, I'll let you tackle this one first.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I spend a lot more time watching the Leafs, so I think I would, initially say it. The Leafs clearly need some scoring depth. It feels like we're talking about this every year, but they get a lot of help from their big guys. That's why, like Patty was saying, Mitch Marner's having a real nice season. William Nylander's having a great season, especially in the goal scoring front. You see Matthew Nyes score on the weekend. He's come back. He's been really solid for them when he's been playing as of recent. But they're not getting a lot from that third and fourth line. And, it's pretty evident that that's going to be a need. Because I'm actually all things considered, the defense looks pretty good as long as they're staying healthy. Oliver Ekman-Larsson did get hurt. He's day-to-day right now. But for the most part, that's been good. Goaltending's been really good. You spoke about Woll already, Dusty. Stolarz is working his way back. He was really good before going out. But this depth scoring is once again a problem for Toronto. And, if you can get guys scoring in the bottom 6 come playoff time, it's a big, big help for winning those series. So, in that front, that's Toronto. In terms of Edmonton, I know there's a lot of talk around, the defensive core. They're working out Klingberg right now, seeing how he can fit in. But, we're seeing some pieces get moved here. I know Paterson's one of those names that people thought maybe was a target for Edmonton. He's gone now from Pittsburgh. So, it almost, I know you talked about this today on your show, Dusty. It almost feels like, moves are going to have to be starting to make sooner than later. And I think both teams could benefit from moves, maybe not to the same position area, but to where their weakness are right now.
Patty, what do you think?
I think obviously just if you look at what the Oilers were able to do last year and you look at what has happened with Toronto over the past many years, you have to say Toronto. But I think when you look at, the impact that Edmonton can do if they go out, like I know we were kind of laughing at the whole goaltending controversy, but I mean, if you can go out and get a legitimate number one goalie, or if you can even get maybe a secondary option to shore up your back end, to shore up that position, certainly why not? So I think probably the biggest impact would be if Edmonton can go out and get another defenseman, another goaltender, maybe it's a depth piece. Maybe they make a huge splash and go out and get another really big player. I think the need and the want is probably higher in Oilers land, but I think the team that actually probably needs to do stuff more and actually have a busier deadline, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, because for all the reasons that Jake kind of laid out there.
All right, it is Nielsen, it is Patty, and it is Jake today with you on the Lock Shop, hustling his way back from Costa Rica. We do have a lot to get to from the weekend outside of the Oilers and the Leafs. Now, I'm going to give you some options here. We can start with Royal Rumble. We can start with Rory McIlroy, or we can start with absolutely bonkers trade in the NBA as Dallas moves Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first. Which one of those three, and you know what, Patty, I guess we'll give you the option here. Which one of those three caught your attention the most over the weekend?
That's tough because Royal Rumble was electric. Huss nailed a couple of his exotic bets. I watched it. I won my Royal Rumble pool. That was great. Rory, it's always great to see Rory win. I think the way he won that eagle on the back nine really elevated him. But you said the key word there. What really grabbed your attention? And it's hard to argue that the Doncic trade didn't grab everyone's attention. Out here on the East Coast, some people were getting ready to tuck themselves.
Well, it must have been
bed.
after midnight for you guys, because it was like 10. Yeah, it was 10:30, 10:45 out here.
I was laying in bed, getting ready to go to bed, and then my phone just explodes. Group chats, tweets, you name it. It was going nuts. And here's one thing I will say. If a trade is so one-sided or so outrageous that you assume the insider that is breaking it has been hacked, you've just messed something up, because that's exactly what everyone's immediately what they thought. I think you even tweeted it out, Dusty. I think you might have said, like, this can't be real, right?
Yeah, even when he followed, like, because I said, like, we were talking about today between shows here. I said, if I had access to hack Sham's account, that's the trade I'd put up. I'd be like, oh, yeah, you know what would be hilarious? Nobody will ever believe this. Doncic is going to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. And then it was actually there. I remember I saw the first one, and then I was like, come on, like this. And then I saw him again. I still didn't believe it when he's like, this is real. I was like, that's exactly what somebody would say who got hacked. So like this, it was, I mean, it's just unbelievable stuff. I mean, Jake, what'd you think of this?
Well, I was at the bar when it went down. Like Patty said, it was pretty late. So I'm standing there. My buddy flips his phone over and he goes, you need to look at this. And I looked and I was like, this isn't real, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what – I'm trying to figure out what account it is. You're on Twitter.
You can click
really
on it and see the fake. Yeah.
You're really trying to decipher if it's like, is that a fake ESPN account? And it was ESPN, Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Like, I still can't fathom it. I've been taking in some sports talk this morning, just trying to get a grasp of like how everyone else feels about it. And it's very clear that, this is a one-sided trade in which why are you ever sending a 25-year-old, who's a top 5 player in the league away for, an aging, like, not that Anthony Davis is a bad player by any means, but like your future of the franchise is now out the door in Los Angeles. And what, because you weren't willing to pay him the supermax? Like, I can't fathom that was the decision that was made. And like, obviously rumors start to swell, like what's really going on. I feel like we really haven't got to the bottom of the real reason. Like this whole, like, he's a little bit out of shape and they're not happy with, the way he comes into the season and stuff. Like, it doesn't matter. This guy is a generational talent, top 5 player in the NBA. And now he's with the Lakers. And I mean, the Lakers aren't going to make a mistake. They're going to get him on the Supermax. And, he's going to be a Laker for a long time, especially with, LeBron. LeBron is, we can all agree, I'm sure he could play another 5 years. Is he willing to? He's 40.
Yeah, he'd play a couple more years maybe, but I mean, he could maybe play 5 more years if he wanted to be like a 15 point per game guy in 5 years.
I just can't see him wanting to do that.
I don't see it, but it's first of all, I'm fascinated to see these two guys play together. And I'm like you, Jake. I listened to a ton of podcasts and stuff yesterday about this deal. Some of them I would describe as better takes than others, but 25 years old. Yeah, guess what? He wasn't in great shape last year either. And he led you to an NBA final. He was top 3 in voting, and he averaged 33, 10, and 9. And to not go and let people know that he's available and look at teams offer you 5, 6, 7 first-round picks. Now, obviously, Dallas did not want to move Luka and go into rebuild mode. They wanted to move Luka, and as their general manager said, guy who's calling the shots there, he doesn't defend well, and he's out of shape. Well, Anthony Davis certainly defends well. I mean, and he's AD's 31, but for the Mavs right now, I mean, he's 10th in the league in points, and he's 4th in the league in rebounds. Anthony Davis is having a pretty good year. You put him with Kyrie Irving and put him with Klay Thompson and some of the other pieces they got there. The Mavericks are still very much, a contender, I think, to probably take a run somewhere deep in the West or at least win a round. But it still doesn't justify moving this guy. And the Lakers, I mean, you're sitting there. They've won after they beat the Knicks, even without AD on Saturday. They were 8-2 in their last 10. They're playing extremely well. They're waiting for AD to come back. And then, Patty, you get this call from the Mavs going, hey, we're looking to move Luka. You're the first call. We want AD and a pick and Max Christie. They must have been okay, let's sign off on this, because you were sitting there for a long time looking at it going, okay, well, they got LeBron, and when LeBron decides to retire, I guess they're going to build around Anthony Davis, who by that time might be 33 or 34 years old. Now you've got 25-year-old Luka. LeBron retires in a couple of years, and you still got one of the best players in the league to bring other guys in. It's a remarkable twist of fate here for the Lakers right now. And, I mean, unless they get a center, I don't know about a championship run this year. But if they do get some sort of competent man to play the middle big, they're going to be a very tough out as well. But I can't believe this fell into their laps.
It's exactly it. They've been trying to figure out what's life look after LeBron James leaves, and now they have their answer. But they also now are going to be able to be a team, like you said. Yeah, maybe need to shore up a couple of spots on their roster, most notably with a center. But I think now that you have those two players together, you have no choice but to try to go out and solve that issue.
You got to find a center. I'd be shocked if they don't acquire a big before the deadline.
They have to. They absolutely have to. And this is an opportunity where you'll never have two generational talents, at the same time. And I understand it. Yes, in the final, Luka, I mean, the Mavs made it very abundantly clear. They were not pleased with the way that he defends. They were not pleased, obviously, at the start of this year, last year, whatever it is, about, the lack of, his commitment to fitness. Who better now to learn what it takes to be a pro than him to learn from LeBron James? I think that this not only is a home run for the Lakers, and say what you will about LeBron. I know I don't have to tell you, Dusty, but say what you will about LeBron, but the guy has been in pristine shape and has continued to get better and has continued to play at an elite level for so long. This could completely change the way that Luka takes care of himself.
Yeah, if he could buy into it, man, it could be a big thing for Luka's career for sure.
And I don't think Luka's ever going to turn into LeBron James or going to turn into one of these guys that, live in the gym. But certainly it seems like this could be a turning point where he could at least figure out the ways to carry himself as a pro. And you don't want to change too much because obviously it's been working well his entire life. But, as he gets older, it's going to be harder to, soak a million beers in the off season and come into training camp like that. It's you're not a young kid anymore. So I think having LeBron there, teaching him his ways is only going to help Luka further his career and ultimately further his legend status, because that's where his trajectory is. He is going to be one of the game's greats. And if LeBron could turn him into not just like, potentially a future Hall of Famer, but like, a top 10 or a top 15 player of all time, if he can really turn things around.
Aiden O'Neill makes a good point over in the chat. He was eligible for the Supermax with Dallas because that's time served with one team, which would have been 5 years, $345. Now he's just on a regular max deal, which is 5 years, $229. So he's lost out on over $100 million because of this trade. I think that's a tough pill to swallow for Luka for sure.
Yeah, I think it's 130. I heard this morning, which is absolutely.
The NBA, their rule book, and everything they got going on over there. It's hard to keep up with for sure. So yeah, he takes a hit there on the trade front. Like this one was a bit of a shocker, and not so much. Oh, what was the biggest, craziest trade since like the Gretzky trade? But for you guys, just as fans of like the Bills or the Leafs or whatever, Jake, what is the most memorable trade as a fan that you remember being like, oh my God, I can't believe this is, there's got to be some corny Leafs deal in here that you're just like, oh, there's got to be.
Funny, you said the Leafs, but like the first one that came to my mind was the Kawhi trade and sending DeMar DeRozan to the Spurs.
Yeah,
and like, I remember when that happened, like, because it had been, Toronto had been so close, and then they just kept running into LeBron, and that's when it was like the LeBronto era, and that drove me absolutely nuts. And then when Masai finally decided, like, hey, this clearly isn't working, we got to move one of these guys, and he moved off DeRozan and was able to go get Kawhi for that 1 year. Like, obviously, it's revisionist history. They end up winning a championship, so that's why it's just such a memorable moment to be like, bring in Kawhi and win a ship in the 1 year that you have them. That one was pretty incredible. I don't know, Patty, if you can think of a Leafs one that really the Ryan O'Reilly, like that was more recently, but like I remember when they got Ryan O'Reilly from St. Louis, we were in Estonia actually, and we were pretty fired. I was pretty fired up at least when that one came through. So that's another one in like recent memory. I don't know, Patty, if you have a couple more that you can think of off the top of your head.
In terms of Toronto, obviously, Jake, I don't even know if you were born. I was only 3 years old, but I know like one trade that had Leafs Nation up in arms was trading Wendell Clark for Matt Sundin. Like Wendell Clark was the epitome of Leafs Nation, blue collar, tough as nails, Fu Manchu. Could beat the snot out of you, but also could fill the score sheet. And then, he just came off like almost scoring 50 goals. Like two of the most popular Leafs of all time, him, Doug Gilmour, like in that 90s era. They came within, inches of making it to a Stanley Cup final. And then out of nowhere with the Nordiques, they trade for Sundin. And it kind of took a little while for Mats, and he writes in his book, which if you haven't read it, it's an awesome book. But he goes in and says like how difficult it was, like that he was tied to this trade forever. And it took a long time for him to win over the hearts.
He's even as good as he was, right? Like
as good as he was. And it took forever. Like it took a long time. And then ultimately now when you look at Sundin, he's the on paper, the greatest Maple Leaf of all time. He was a captain. He, you look at all the offensive records, he's at the top of them all. So, I think that's one that, in terms of, like I said, I was only 3 or 4 years old. So I don't remember the specific trade itself. I do remember Wendell being a Leaf, and I do remember Sundin, but that's probably the biggest one, I think, in Toronto history, in terms of like craziness and shock factor. The trade for Donaldson, I think was really huge
pretty big
for the Blue Jays as well. And, some of the other big acquisitions the Blue Jays made back then a lot of them were like free agency, bringing in Tulowitzki and that kind of stuff.
And they traded for Price. That was a pretty big one too. I remember going to Price's first game, and he was electric. And he get 11 Ks in that game, pitched 8 innings. Like, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like those couple years really, really got me like into the Jays. And obviously now it's like an absolute nightmare, even though they're starting to make some moves here. But
you're a big Max Scherzer guy at the end of his career. I like it.
Yeah, he's real late in his career. I was just looking at a couple other ones. When the Leafs traded for Kessel, they traded away 2 first-round picks. One ended up being Tyler Seguin. The other one was Dougie Hamilton. So maybe not the best one there. I also saw I just took a peek at the Phaneuf trade. That one wasn't too crazy, but I remember when Phaneuf came in.
What was the other one? Tuukka Rask for Andrew Raycroft? Was that not?
Yeah, the Raycroft one. I didn't even want to bring that one up.
That one, that one there was. That one wasn't even that shocking at the time because you didn't know who Tuukka
Rask was going to be. Yeah,
but
they chose Justin. They basically chose Pogge over him.
So Justin Pogge.
And Rask, yeah.
And Pogge, I was young, but I remember like this, watching the World Juniors and my dad telling me like, this is the goalie of the future, like, and all sorts of fired up, and you let Rask walk and you're like, well, we got Pogge and hey, Raycroft, like what a great goalie he's been. And then next thing you know, you're just like, oh my goodness, what a horrendous trade that just went down. So.
For me, it was always, and it always will be, the Patrick Waugh trade. I was in grade 9. I was at school. One of my buddies had gone home for lunch and came back and was like, hey, Dusty, I just have to tell you, Patrick Waugh just got traded. And he was like my favorite player from when I was like 6 years old. And I don't know, grade 9, what are you, 14? And I remember when he told me that, I started crying in junior high school. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'll never forget where I was for that one. And this one's big. I mean, we'll see what happens here between. Matt, could you imagine a Mavs-Lakers playoff series?
Oh, please.
Like outside of Oilers and Jets in the conference final and Oilers Leafs in the Stanley Cup final, Lakers Mavs is probably next on my list of wishes to watch this spring. So fingers crossed on that one. I did not catch any of Royal Rumble. You mentioned it was pretty good, Patty. I know Jey Uso won. What does he say? People were texting in today. Teek or Keet or Yeet. Yeah, sorry, boys. I'm not in the loop. I will say I did click on the Royal Rumble when I thought I was going to watch it for a bit, but it just took me to the trailer, and then I was like, I'm going to go to bed anyway. So I didn't really get into it, but lived up to the hype, would you say, or what?
Absolutely. I thought it was phenomenal. I think a lot of people it's crazy because Jey Uso in the biz, they call it over. And that means like when a guy's hype is finally there and you get through. He's one of the most popular guys in the WWE right now. When you look at from his entrance, but that Yeet stuff, like the entire stadium arena is rocking and they love him. And from merchandise sales, he's number one by far right now. But then he goes out and wins the Royal Rumble, and the WWE universe, the WWE universe reminds me a lot of, it is like a fan base because no matter what happens, they're always upset about something. They were pissed off because John Cena doesn't win in his last Rumble. They're pissed off because they felt like, CM Punk got hurt last year and he was robbed of it. So, I'm not the biggest Jey Uso guy. Like, I'm not going out and buying teal sunglasses and screaming Yeet. I understand the story. Me personally, I thought it was great. It was a shock factor. My jaw was on the floor. A part of it, was also happy because I had the number 20 entry in my Royal Rumble pool and I was fired up that I won $100. But when you look at it, it was came out of nowhere, came out of left field. Even though his hype is so big right now, everyone assumed you heard Dusty talking about Dusty, you're talking about his picks, like he's talking about CM Punk and Cena, and Jey Uso's like, yep, top 4. He could finish in the top 4. He's not going to win. He'll be there near the end, but he's not going to win. And the fact that as soon as it was crazy, so. The three of the biggest guys in WWE right now with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins were all basically battling each other, trying to get each other over the ropes. The 2 others were, and CM Punk comes in and throws Rollins and Roman Reigns over, and everyone's like, oh my God, they're out. They're eliminated. Okay, CM Punk's going to win this thing. And then out of nowhere, the most hated man in wrestling right now, Logan Paul, comes in and throws CM Punk over the ropes.
Oh, boy.
Leaving 4 guys left. Logan Paul. It was Logan Paul, John Cena, Penta, who's the new up-and-comer luchador, and I think that's who Huss had as the Iron Man for the guy that lasts longest. And then, of course, Jey Uso. So the fact that Cena was like plus 120, one of the last 4 standings, everyone, including myself, thought Cena had this in the bag. And sure enough, plot twist, they get over the ropes, both of them are there, and Uso gets over, pushes Cena off, everyone's shocked, they win. So awesome storylines there. I thought, the other matches were okay. Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes beat the absolute piss out of each other in the ladder match. Like, I thought each guy died like 4 times. Unbelievable stuff. But when it comes to the Royal Rumble, man, like, whether you're a fan of wrestling or not, or if you once were a fan, like two of the guys that were in the pool really haven't watched wrestling since probably the Attitude Era. But they got some money on it, turned it on. They were like, you know what? This was a lot of fun. Like, when's the next one? Oh, it's Elimination Chamber in a month in Toronto. Oh, really? Check tickets. Oh, okay, never mind. It's $250 to sit in the 500s.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I won't do that. But hey, it's on Netflix and it's for free. Can we do a pool for this? Be a lot of fun. So
I might have to go back and watch the finish of this. I'll pop on Netflix tonight, watch the final 20 minutes or something.
So
that's what we ended up doing. We ended up throwing it on like when Cena kind of came in. He was 23. I was just looking at the numbers. Yeah, he was 23.
Here. I was just looking at that, yeah.
Cena came in and we had it on, and it was pretty entertaining, man. Like, obviously, like, we all know what wrestling is, but it's an entertainment business, and they do a really good job putting on a show. I thought Cena had him. Like, Cena had him up over his head, and he kind of Uso kind of rolled off his back, shoved Cena out, and like I was in shock because I knew the odds, right? So I was kind of just basing off of that. I'm like, well, Cena was kind of the favorite most of the week. It did flip the Punk, but he was out at that point. I'm like, it's probably going to be Cena, and then sure enough, Jey Uso and wrestling got me, man. I was pretty entertained with the back half of the Rumble there.
All right, so Royal Rumble lives up to the billing. We're going to get to some Super Bowl stuff. But quickly, Patty with Rory. I mean, nice start. As we mentioned last week when we were setting up Pebble, kind of the official start of some of the bigger events and some of the bigger boys in the mix. And pretty entertaining throughout the weekend. And Rory ends up being the last survivor.
I think Pebble always lives up to the hype for sure. Just the way, like, you just look at the golf course and you see some of the holes. It's so beautiful. And, it's not a super challenging course. At least it's no longer anymore. Like, I mean, Rory shot, I think, the second best score at Pebble Beach in history, at 21 under. But just there, it just seems like the wind and the weather can throw a wrinkle into things. But I thought Rory was phenomenal. And I think we really could be, and we've done this before. We've bought into this hype before, like, oh my God, this could be Rory's year. But he finishes T4 at the Dubai Classic a couple weeks ago, then comes into Pebble here and wins in convincing fashion. In the fall season on the DP World Tour, he ends up winning the World Tour Championship. I wish I saw what odds were. And Jake, I don't know if you took a peek before most recently. Maybe we'll have to bring it back for next show. But, Rory McIlroy, 10-1 now to win the Masters, which I'm kind of surprised. I thought he would be lower. The fact that him and Xander are 10-1, I was expecting this morning to log on to Coolbet and check his Masters odds and see him down closer to like 9 or 800, just because that's who Rory is. Rory is one of the few golfers that are left on tour that move the needle quite like him. Like Scotty Scheffler, say what you will, he's probably one of the greatest golfers of all time. He doesn't quite move the needle like we see with Rory. It's pretty much Rory, maybe Jordan Spieth when he gets close on a leaderboard on a Sunday. People get really excited about that. But besides that, Rory's the closest thing to Tiger that we've seen since Tiger.
Jake, you got anything on the golf, or you want to get to? We got one game tonight. It's interesting. I want to let me know. Do you have anything on the golf?
Yeah, I'm all back in on Rory, boys. This is the year. He's getting the major this year. Plus 180 at Coolbet to win a major this year. I want a piece of that.
Is he TGL action tomorrow too? I think isn't Rory playing tomorrow? TGL.
Yeah, is Boston playing? Let's see.
Boston
they are.
Common,
Yes,
I think is back in.
It's Boston and LA.
Yeah,
that'll be a good little.
More Rory coming down the pipe for you. All right, so one game in the National Hockey League tonight, and this is Jake. You're the fishy line guy. Okay, so we're gonna throw this your way here. The Ottawa Senators have won 4 in a row, plus 115 road dogs here. Nashville has lost 4 in a row, minus 135 home favorites. Now, I believe Ottawa did play yesterday. So maybe that's why we're looking at the Sens, who've just been so much better as of late, being the dog in this situation. But she seems a little fishy to me. No, Ottawa didn't even play yesterday.
They didn't.
They didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to look at their splits here. Pretty mediocre on the road. But, Nashville, man, this is once again, I talked about this last week.
How many times? Nashville's always got these lines.
The books just keep giving Nashville credit for where, I don't know why. I don't know.
They won the offseason, fellas. They're the off-season
we're still
champions.
seeing those numbers. It's like they're still giving the odds on the Preds. They're not second last in the division.
Have you seen the recent results since last week, last Saturday? 5-2 to the Ducks, 3-1 to the Preds, 4-3 to the Sabres, which they were, I think, they were down 2-0, end up tying it and end up losing. 3-0 to the Penguins. A lot of these teams are bad hockey teams, and they are losing and in convincing fashion.
Yeah, they lost to 4 non-playoff teams convincingly.
And
they're a favorite.
I don't understand. And Dusty, that just goes to show you, the Senators on the road, maybe it was a quick turnaround. No, actually not. They're coming off a convincing victory on home ice against the Wild. They won, what was it, 6-0 or something like that?
6-0.
And they got a day off to travel to Nashville. Maybe the concern is, do we know if Ottawa, did they go in the night before? Were they in Nashville last night? Maybe someone from Vegas spotted them at Tootsie's last night and just assumed they're all banged up for today, which I don't even care because the Predators are that bad. What are we talking about here? And I can't believe I'm waxing poetically about the goddamn Ottawa Senators, but here we are.
Gross. It's so gross. I agree, though. I don't think we should have any fear taking that plus money with the Sens because, you think about what we did on Friday. The little 2-gamer we had on Friday, us was texting us like crazy about. I ended up getting my buddies on. We all jumped on Columbus because it was a late game.
Yeah,
and they went down 2-0, and I'm like, oh God, boys, this is a bad team ride, bad mojo to start the weekend. They come back, they win it in overtime. It was pretty electric. I got no problem jumping on the dog right now. It like you said, the line seems fishy. I just think the books are continuing to overvalue the Nashville Predators, who are simply just not a good hockey team.
Yeah, they're not a good team. I mean, they're 12-9-3 at home, so they've played 24 home games. They've won half of them. Ottawa's great at home. Ottawa's not great on the road. I mean, their splits home and away between the two teams pretty close anyway. So I don't know, man. I think there's just too much value on the Sens at that number to pass on it tonight. So
are we just looking at Puckpedia right now? Starting goaltenders are confirmed.
Forsberg and Saros.
I mean, Saros is always scary, but he's a good goalie, but his team in front of him stinks. So yeah, I'm fine with this, fellas. I am totally in on this for sure.
It's the only game tonight, and let's just say we're going to ride with the Ottawa Senators and see what happens. All right, let's slide over to the Super Bowl. It is Super Bowl week. I threw out a Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown at plus 120 or 125 this morning in my first of the daily Super Bowl picks that we'll be dishing out. He's got touchdowns in 4 straight games. I think he's fine in the back of the end zone in this game as well. But what do you guys want to dive into today on the Super Bowl to get the week started?
Well, first, before we get into it, just wanted to update because I think the last time I was on Thursday, I talked about how many markets there were available at Coolbet. It's all the way up to 635 markets that you can place wagers on. And we're here Monday. More are being added. Everyone's asking about the Swifty bets. And some of the novelty bets, some of them are up. The Swift bets are coming up as well. We're going to have some interesting ones there. Jake, I don't know, did you want to maybe dive into some of the promotional stuff before we get into the actual bets itself?
Yeah, let's start with the hub. I saw them chatting about it today in the DGen Den in the Discord. But let's start with the big game hub. So this year, we usually do some sort of big promo for the Super Bowl, but we figured – let's give people the option this year. So you have a choice of 3 different options. Head to the promotions tab and go to it says, celebrate the big game, pick from one of 3 great offers. There's a nice big game design there. And here are the options. You can get a profit boost. So a 59% profit boost on any picks that you like for the game. Minimum odds are minus 125 for that one. Then we have bet insurance. So you can get a second chance to insure any of your bets up to $59. All this, by the way, Super Bowl 59. So we're playing into that a little bit. And we know people love the deposit bonuses. You can take a 100% deposit bonus for big game week up to $59. So it's up to you this year. You get to choose from one of 3 options. I know they were chatting about it today. I think someone said they were leaning deposit bonus. Probably all depends on what your account's looking like. If you're pretty flush at the Royal Rumble weekend, you had a nice little betting weekend, you might not want the deposit bonus. You might be more prone to take the profit boost. If your account's looking a little slim, you want to bulk it up for the big game, for the Super Bowl, jump on the deposit bonus. Take a little bit of extra money on us, but totally your choice, totally up to you. So that'll be rolling all week right up until the Super Bowl. And then we're also doing something, Patty, maybe since you had this idea, why don't you break down the combo plan for the week?
Yeah, absolutely. I know everyone loves the combo cards and the super boost, the undies, whatever it is, but each and every week, and we're going to have a ton of exclusives and a ton of combo cards. Keep checking back. But what we're going to do each and every day this week, there is going to be a daily super boost. So every single day, one super boost available for that day and that day only. Today's, for example, is Monday's big game super boost. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown, and Patrick Mahomes over 1.5 touchdowns. That's initially plus 189, but we've boosted all the way up to plus 250. So up until midnight Pacific time, you're going to have an opportunity to throw down on this big game boost. Once tomorrow, Tuesday, rolls around, this one will not be available, but we will have another super boost available for you. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and of course, our Sunday super boost will be ready for you. But you only have that full day to take in order of it. So if you like the boost today, take it, because come tomorrow morning, it will not be available for you.
I like that idea. And then a new one tomorrow. Be a lot of fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. And have you been tasked with coming up with these every day, Patty?
I think it's a little bit of a team effort, the folks at Coolbet, but this was my brainchild, so I guess I'll take the credit for it. Unless 7 of them hit straight, then it was Jake's idea.
Yeah, I actually today Patty gave me Patty sent the idea over today. I'm like, oh, I love this. So I'm like, I kind of came up with one with the Hurts and the Mahomes, try to get the big QBs in early. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Patty has already sent me a few. We're not going to give them away, but Patty has sent me a few ideas already that we're going to have. And, they might not all just be Super Bowl odds, too. You might sprinkle in some cross-sport super boost as well.
But do you think there's any way Mahomes runs for 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl like he did last week against Buffalo?
I think you and I talked about how we liked the rushing yardage.
The yardage for both guys, longest rush, right? Wasn't it 11.5?
I mean, in terms of a sprinkle, why the heck not? Like, I think anytime scorers plus 333, I think that's going to be an auto.
Yeah. Yeah, we said that this morning when I was making that Kareem Hunt play. I was like, wait a second, where's Mahomes? And it was plus 335 this morning, which was crazy.
I think we might have lost Patty here. It looks like he
Did we
went.
lose Patty?
He went
Decent freeze.
Full froze.
Yeah, decent
Full froze
freeze.
mode. So.
We've had worse freezes. We'll see if Patty reconnects. He'll probably hop back in here. Trev, you might.
Yeah,
need
but he lost power at his house. He just texted me.
Oh, okay. He lost power at his house. So set us up on a 2-shot till Patty gets his power back up, and then we'll get going on that one. That's crazy. What's the weather like out there? Is this just a random power bump, or is bad weather out there right now, Jake?
It was snowing pretty good here. It looks like Patty is back. I think he jumped on his phone here. He's gonna get an update from him. But yeah, it was snowing here in Keswick. But I live a little further from Pat, so I don't know what it's like there. It might be
it's almost minus 40 here this morning with the wind chill. So
my goodness,
kind of chilly here right now. There you go, Patty. That was a quick turnaround onto the phone like that, buddy.
It's Super Bowl week, man. We got to be dialed here.
You don't mess around.
No, you can't. You can't. Power went out. So I'm on my phone right now. So the weather is not too bad. It's pretty cold, not as cold as it is in Edmonton right now. But yeah, once we're done the show here, I might have to go figure out what the heck is going on, or it could be a quiet afternoon at the Gregoire Coolbet offices here.
All right, so we're diving into a little bit of Super Bowl stuff. Mark over in the Nasty Chat says, guys, does Kendrick Lamar mention Drake? Can I get odds on that, please? Oh, man. You think he brings him up because of the beef? The beef's pretty significant. Do you mention a guy you're beefing
and then he
with?
just won like a zillion Grammys on that song, too.
I know.
Oh, did he kill the Grammys last night? Did he just destroy it last night?
I think he won like 4 or 5 Grammys for that song.
Really?
Like for not
Wait,
like
for the beef song?
like the main. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, that seems unfair. Like, that doesn't seem nice for the people voting on the Grammys to be like, "This is hilarious. Let's give it to him." Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I think I mean we could definitely look into maybe seeing if that song can be added.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can directly. I don't think there's going to be a Drake reference, but that song being on the set list could potentially maybe be a prop that we could look into for sure. But yeah, Jake, I think it was like 4 or 5 Grammys he won yesterday, and like 3 of them were before the show even had started, and people were like, "Oh, this is not good for Drake."
oh,
Yeah. So right now in the halftime odds,
okay,
Not Like Us 4-1 to be the first song played, but minus 156 to be the last song played. So might not be the one he opens with, but it looks like, in terms of the odds, that might be what he closes out the show.
Okay, there you go. So it's already up.
minus 156 already up. The other things that you can get: Kendrick Lamar total songs performed on stage, 10.5 over or under, and that would be parts of songs too, right? Like that's you're not going to roll out 10, okay? And then Kendrick Lamar to be wearing a hoodie during the halftime show's first song. Yes at minus 125, no at minus 104. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with Kendrick Lamar. Straight up hoodie guy though, like all the time. Is that what we should be expecting?
I won't even pretend to know. Like I know Kendrick. I know a lot of his songs. Like, but I can't say I delve into his fashion all too much. But with that being said, when it comes to betting, I am not afraid to do a little bit of research. So I might have to as well. I mean, one of my favorites traditions for the Super Bowl is spending hours upon hours on
Anthems?
YouTube for anthems. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite.
Duck Dad says, I've seen him in a hoodie performing with Dr. Dre. I've just scrolled through about 200 Kendrick Lamar photos from concerts and other things and photo shoots. And, the hoodie does not seem to be overly prominent.
Okay.
But, I don't know, something to keep tabs on.
Yeah, maybe there's a music video that a lot of people are assuming he might start off with and
be in the hoodie for that.
So.
Yeah,
Again, we'll have a lot. We got a full week here, fellas,
do.
to dive into some of these Super Bowl props. I haven't done my prep yet for the anthem, but you better believe come whether it's Thursday or Friday, I will have my official play. Because the later you wait in the week, that's when some leaks start to come out, and then obviously the odds have to come down. So don't wait too long on some of those bets because. Good chance that come Thursday, Friday, definitely Saturday, those odds might not be available, or they might be available, but the odds have completely changed because some new info has just hit the wire.
Somebody's asking about it late last week. Travis Kelce proposing to Taylor Swift on the field after the game. It is up under specials, and it is yes plus 700, no 2,000, minus 2,000. So, you know what? The 7-1 isn't even that long of that's kind of well,
I know.
Yeah.
Fun bet, but I don't think he'd do it. I personally don't think he'd do it. I've heard people talk about it, and it's you do that to the girl, especially if you come in, you make the 3P and you choose to do it on national TV. I just don't see Kelce doing that. I also don't think
I thought it'd be 20 to 1.
I don't know.
Not 7.
I agree. I thought it'd be higher as well, but
I'm looking.
If you do think it's going to happen,
I wanted to compare it to the touchdown odds, and there's a better chance from the odds that Travis Kelce asked Taylor Swift to marry him on the field after the game than Samaje Perine getting a touchdown. I'm I don't know. I feel like there's probably a better chance Samaje Perine, gets in for a gimmick play and catches a check down from Patrick Mahomes. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that starts.
For Kelce to score twice.
There's better odds. Well, if Kelce scores twice, he might ask her to marry him. Might need to get that combo put up. 2 Kelce scores and a marriage proposal. Can you imagine? You thought Luka and AD changed things. Can you imagine if Kelce asked her to marry him on the field and she said no? Oh my God! That would be nuts. I want odds on that. 1,000,000 to 1 shot. That would be something else. All right, so we are just getting started with Super Bowl week. Huss will obviously be back tomorrow, assuming all the travel goes safely. But as Patty mentioned, 636 different markets for the Super Bowl, and there will just continue to be added to that. We'll get into some Four Nation face-off futures as well. So lots to get to as we work our way through the week. Some combo cards already up for tonight. Only the one game tonight, but if you like points from the point, Shabbat and Yossi to get points tonight, plus 327. And the Lamplighters, Brady Kachuk and Stamkos both to score, boosted from plus 659 up to plus 750. You can find those in the combo cards at the top of the page over at Coolbet. Boys, fun weekend to recap. Thanks for sliding in today. And sit back and enjoy, as I will tomorrow, and listen to Huss recap his entire trip. It should be absolutely outstanding. Very much looking forward to that. That is going to do it for the Lock Shop today. Thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck tonight, and we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.